Preparing for today, I felt like I should share with us about giving and what I'm going to be doing over the next few months on Communion Sundays, on the first Sundays of a month, is talking about giving. Okay, just snippets of it, picking at this, picking at that, Bible-based giving, biblical giving, because I understand that we all have a good heart and we want to give and we do give, but like everything else, like Margaret just shared this morning and like I have been sharing about Romans 12:2, I have it here as well. See, we just read and looked at Romans 12:2, where we're told not to be conformed to this world but to be transformed by the renewing of our minds. The Lord wants us to be filled with the knowledge of His will in all wisdom and spiritual understanding. He wants us to be filled with the knowledge of His will. Yes, He wants us to do good, but He also wants us to know why we're doing good. He wants us to behave in a certain way, but He also wants us to have a confidence as to why we're behaving in that particular way. So giving, when we give, I don't know what you have in mind when you're putting your offering in the basket there, what you're thinking. You don't know what I'm thinking and so on. So I just thought, well, not just thought, I was praying about this and I felt like, okay, so because we don't talk about giving here that often, I'm going to kind of do a series of short episodes on it, on once a month. Just deal with it, okay? Right. So before I get into that, you'll also remember that several months ago, I was trying to find when exactly we did this. I asked us to write some things down on paper about what was at the top of our lives, the main topics at the top of our lives, and the main topics at the top of our culture. Don't know if you remember that, however vaguely. And I myself, I couldn't find the notes to go with it. So it probably was that long ago, before COVID, yeah. Was either very early this year or last year sometime. But I remember what I wrote. I remember for myself, the top 3 things on my list of concern for myself. Well, not concern, but my top major issues that I always want to be right about, want to be knowledgeable about, want to be influenced about marriage, ministry, and parenting. Those 3 things are crucial for me. They're at the top of my list of everything. Okay. Now there are other things that then at the bottom, and then at the top of a list about societal things, because I asked us to write 2 separate lists, one for ourselves and one for society, was the issue of sexuality and gender, the issue of finances or monetary issues, and then again the issue of marriage, how society handles marriage. So we wrote that all down. And the reason I'm bringing that to our minds again, and I'll remind us next week, over the next few weeks, is I want us to go back there somewhat. I want us to begin to contribute topics that you want to see dealt with. Yeah? Things that you would like us to deal with in church. What are the things that either are at the top of your list or the forefront of your mind right now, or and they're personal, or they're just about society, or whatever. The issues that you want us to be answering in church. Because God wants us to have answers to questions. He wants us to have Bible-based positions on issues. So you can have an opinion about something, but it's another matter entirely to have the Bible opinion about the matter. Now, of course, Bible opinions will always evolve.
Sorry, Mommy.
Bible opinions will always evolve. They will change. I was looking at some of my notes last night from way back, 1995. I have notes going back to 95 and they're still all there in different books. I was just scanning through. It was a scan, really. I was looking for something in particular and I didn't find it anyway. But as I scanned through, I was looking at I paused at some of the things I talked about through the years, through the decades, and some of them have changed so much. If I was to talk on the same issue now, I've moved on so much, and actually I'm a little bit embarrassed about what I said about some things almost 30 years ago. So even Bible position will change as the years go on. But listen, friends, what's more important or what's equally important is that we have a Bible position. For every Christian, it's really not good enough, for want of a better phrase, and I'm not castigating us, but let's say it's better. It's always better for Christians to have a Bible opinion on matters, especially matters that are gnawing away at your mind, or that are big for society, or matters that are always, about you. Then it's good to have a Bible. So I want us to contribute subjects that we can deal with. So I can teach and preach on those subjects, offer a Bible position on them, and we can have a discussion on those subjects as well, so that at the very least we're all on the same page about the same issue. You see what I mean? So if we're all talking about hell, for instance, we can all talk about it. Well, I can teach and preach on it, and then we can have a discussion. And at the end of it, however long it takes, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we can all say, okay, this is what we've talked about on hell. And then, if necessary, you can refer to it in the future. But we have a Bible position on it. The same thing with sexuality, with finances, with all sorts of things. So I want us to contribute to that, okay? I just thought I'd mention that in case I forget at the end. Now, today, though, is an introduction, a quick one, okay? The next 15 minutes or so, okay? I've just taken 7 minutes preamble there. The next 15 minutes or so, I want to introduce us to this, to giving. And I want to start from what I consider the sort of foundational material on biblical giving. The first bit we'll find in Proverbs chapter 3 and verse 9. Proverbs chapter 3 and verse 9. That's the first bit I want to look at. Proverbs chapter 3. I go to Proverbs and then I will go to Genesis 22 as well. I could have gone to many other passages, but I want to start with these two because for me they form a sort of a core of what I believe about giving in the scriptures. Okay, and as the months go on, we'll tackle it from different angles as well. So Proverbs chapter 3 verse 9 says, "Honor the Lord from your wealth and from the first of all your produce. So your barns will be filled with plenty and your vats will overflow with new wine." Okay, so obviously that was written in the time of a mainly agrarian society that depended on agriculture. Okay, so the terms that are used there, especially in second part of the verse, so your barns will be filled with plenty and your vats will overflow with new wine, is to do with communities that deal with that mainly. But the first part is about the giving. Honor the Lord from your wealth and from the first of all your produce. Honor the Lord. Okay, let me read two other translations that might shed a bit more light on that. The Amplified translation says, "Honor the Lord with your capital and your sufficiency from righteous labors." Honor the Lord from your capital. You see, that first one says, honor the Lord from your wealth. So that's, if you like, from your savings, from your assets, from the things you have already. Honor the Lord. Okay? Honor the Lord from your capital and sufficiency from righteous labors, and with the first fruits of all your income. And with the first fruits of all your income. That's interesting because again, it's mainly from an agrarian society, but the understanding of it is more about first in terms of position and first in terms of quality. So when they harvested, when they conducted the first harvest of any crop, what the Bible is saying to them, what the writer here is saying, and it's also said by the Lord Himself in Deuteronomy and Exodus, it's saying that when you do your first harvest, remember the Lord first. Think of Him first. Okay, think of Him first. So in the terms of numeracy, in terms of numbers, think of Him first. Don't think of yourself first. And then first also in terms of quality, think of the best of that crop. So first harvest, you take the best out of it and you think of the Lord first. All right. Now, so honor the Lord from your wealth and from the first of all your produce, this says now, not just of your first fruit, not just of the first harvest, but all your harvest. Think of the Lord first and give Him the best of the harvest. Are you with me? Yeah. Think of the Lord first and give Him the best of your harvest. Now, nobody in this room does farming for a living. We know that, okay? Maybe farmers will join us sometime or whatever, but it still applies to us. Honor the Lord with what you make, what you have, and with the first of your income. Think of Him first and give Him the best of it. Think of Him first and give Him the best of it, the choice of it. One more translation from the Passion. It says, glorify God with all your wealth. Okay? Glorify God with all your wealth. That kind of throws a little bit more of a spin on it, that it's not just at the time of earning it, and it's not just what we choose to bring out of it, but a commitment in my mind that all my wealth is actually for glorifying God. Everything I have is for glorifying God. Glorify God with all your wealth, honoring Him with your very best, with every increase that comes to you. Every. I think this translation kind of captures the essence of that verse. Glorify God with all your wealth, honoring Him with your very best, with every increase that comes to you. So every time you make money, every time you receive income, wherever that income is from, it could be the benefit system, it could be from working and toiling, it could be from investments. Anytime you receive income, think of the Lord and think of how you're going to bless Him. Okay? And with every increase that comes to you, then every dimension of your life will overflow with blessings from an uncontainable source of inner joy. Then every dimension of your life will overflow with blessings. So there is a result that comes from that. I'm not going to major much on the results this morning. I'm talking more about the giving itself, the honoring the Lord. So we honor Him by giving, by appreciating in our minds, and that every time we receive income, we think of Him first, and we think of giving Him the best. And then from the wealth that we already have amassed, our savings, our assets, be they be material assets or financial assets, we also are committed to the Lord with them, saying, it's all for you anyway. Let's look at the word honor very quickly, because it might mean different things to different ones of us, okay? To honor from a general dictionary means to regard with respect and to pay public respect to. The honor being referred to here is not a subscription or a tax. Okay, it's not like subscribing to National Geographic and because I really love National Geographic and I want to protect the earth and then maybe I get a magazine a month because I really love the planet. It's not a subscription. It's not a tax either. It's not given to the government because I have to. This honor is a voluntary tribute that is based on an appreciation of the subject, of their position, their achievements, and their abilities. So it's a voluntary tribute that is based on an appreciation of a subject. So the more we appreciate God, the more we appreciate his position, his achievements, his doings, and his abilities, etc., the more we appreciate God, the more we come to know him and understand him, like you were saying this morning about him giving his son for us, sacrificing his child for us, and all the things we've learned about. The more we learn about him, the more voluntarily we should be moved to want to publicly respect him for it, show him respect for it. You see, and we can find illustrations of that in our cultural world or in our natural world and so on. You see, if a celebrity that you really liked, be they good or bad or whatever, that you really like, that you really respect, that you think is doing a great job, suddenly showed up in town, chances are you might want to go and see them. And even though they're probably much richer than you, if you get the opportunity, you might want to buy them a drink. Well, I might want to buy Al Green a drink. Just because I can then say, I bought Al Green a drink. And take a selfie with him. And that drink in the selfie, I bought him for. I want to show respect, honor, public honor for people that deserve it. Give honor unto whom it is due, you might have heard before. And that is what this verse is talking about. Honor the Lord with all your wealth and with your increase. That's part of why we give, because we want to pay respect to God, to what he does, to who he is, to how he does things. Okay. Genesis 22. No doubt I will come back to that some other time over the next few months, and we'll keep using it as a foundation. Now that's why we give, primarily because we're honoring the Lord. We respect him. He's deserving of our wealth. Right, Genesis 22. We won't read it all. You know the story. I'll remind you of the story. It's a story where God says to Abraham, Isaac was a young teenager by now, we understand from Bible scholars. God says to him, that son, your only son, your dear beloved son, whom I have given to you, after so many years of waiting for him, and now that you've brought him up this well, I want you to go and sacrifice him to me on a mountain. And I can just imagine the color leaving Abraham's face for a moment before the color coming back. It goes from verse 1 to verse 5. Abraham did all the preparation, came with servants, everybody with Isaac to the foot of the mountain. And it says in verse 5, Abraham said to his young men, stay here with the donkey, and I and the lad will go over there, and we will worship and return to you. You've heard me say this many times. I think I said it even last week. We will go up and worship, and we will return to you. The context in which I said it before was, how did Abraham know they will come back? Because his hope was firm and secure. God had told him his future. And this was not the end of it. This was not the end of his story. God had told him his future, saying, I will bless the whole world through your son. So if God's going to kill him, he's going to have to raise him from the dead. And the writer of Hebrews does quote that to say that Abraham already kind of received Isaac back in a figure in his hope. Okay, but this morning I want to mention worship. By the rule of first mention, this is the first time the word worship is used in the Bible, in any translation. If you search it, this is the first time the word worship is used. So that ought to direct our thinking at least a little bit. I'd say a lot, but at least a little bit about what worship means. It's not just about singing good songs. That's part of it. It's not just about bowing down and feeling contrite or feeling joyous. That's part of it. But worship, by the rule of first mention here, the first time it is used means sacrifice. I shall go up and give something that is precious to me. Everybody said, I'm going to worship the Lord. But what was he supposed to go and do? To sacrifice his only begotten son. Worship. To sacrifice that which is most precious to him. So, giving is expressed here. This verb is used to indicate bowing before a monarch or a superior, paying homage to somebody, to him or her. It's an outward expression of an inner awe. It's a token of allegiance and surrender. Our worship is a token of our allegiance to somebody and our surrender to that person. So when we say we're worshiping God, I want you to start thinking again that what you're saying is, you have my allegiance. I'm with you to the end. Front line or back line, I am there. I'm in your army. And that I surrender to you. Whichever way you say I should do life is how I'm going to do it. And the things we bring then, the monies we put in this basket, are a token of our allegiance, a token of our surrender. I earned this money with blood and sweat, maybe, or it was given to me, or one way or the other it's mine, and I'm saying, Lord, it's now yours because I am yours. It's a token. It's a sign of saying everything I have belongs to you. The most precious things I have belong to you. Abraham said, I'm going to worship. He was going to sacrifice the most precious thing in his life to God. Combine that with what we said earlier about Proverbs 3, you get a sense of giving. See, all the above presumes a belief that God is present in this ministry, and this ministry represents God. That is, we exist by and we are doing the will of God. That's why we give in any ministry. Because the foundational passages I'm using here talk about honoring the Lord, worshiping the Lord. So if this is honor and this is worship, then you're also saying God is here. Otherwise, you need to find where God really is for you. God is everywhere, of course, but where your allegiance is, and there you give to support the ministry there. Now, how we use it, what we use it for, we'll talk about over the next few months. But this is to say, it is beyond simply going to church or fellowshipping with other believers or learning from the Bible and all that. It is an implicit belief that God can be known, God can be reached through this ministry. With that, we worship well and we honor him well. So when we put our monies in there, or when we send it electronically, whichever way we gave through this ministry, we're saying we're giving to God because we believe he can actually receive it through this ministry, because he's actually here and he's doing stuff here, he's doing bits here, as my son would say. He's working on us, he's here. So we can honor God from our wealth, from our increase, and worship him with that which is precious to us. And that's the beginning of it for me. Okay. Okay, let us pray.